He married her with one goal in mind. Not love, not companionship, not even forgiveness, but revenge. He believed she was weak, broken, and desperate for a second chance. He believed she'd never see it coming. But what he didn't know was that the woman standing at the altar already knew his plan. And she had been preparing for this moment longer than he had. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you will never miss our stories. And to my lovely family who have been with us, thank you for always coming back, and also, drop a comment below and tell me where you are watching from. This is a story about assumptions, consequences, and a woman who was always one step ahead. Stay till the end. Ethan Blackwood never forgot betrayal. 5 years earlier, his family empire collapsed overnight. His father died of a heart attack 2 days after the scandal broke. Their company was sold for pennies. Their name became poison, and Ethan blamed one person, Lena Hart. She had been his fiancée back then. Brilliant, calm, always observant. When the company collapsed, rumors spread that confidential documents had been leaked, documents only 2 people had access to. Ethan never waited for proof. He watched Lena walk away without defending herself, without begging him to listen. To him, that silence was guilt. From that day on, revenge became his fuel. 5 years later, Ethan was back on top. New investors, a rebuilt empire, and one final loose end, Lena. She was no longer the confident woman he remembered. She lived quietly, no luxury, no social media, no public ambition. That's when the idea came to him. He would marry her, bind her legally, strip her of freedom slowly, expose her publicly, make her suffer the humiliation he believed she deserved. So when he appeared at her door with a proposal, Lena was shocked. But she said yes, without hesitation. What Ethan didn't notice was the way her fingers trembled, not from fear, but from restraint. The marriage was cold. Ethan kept emotional distance. He controlled the finances. He dictated appearances. He spoke in half-truths and subtle insults. Lena never protested. She cooked. She smiled. She complied, too easily. At night, while Ethan slept, Lena worked. Old files, encrypted emails, and financial records. She had never betrayed him. 5 years ago, she had discovered the real traitor, Ethan's uncle, the man who had quietly inherited shares after the collapse. Lena had tried to warn Ethan, but he never listened. Instead, she disappeared to gather evidence. Now she was back inside the lion's den. Ethan began to grow uneasy. Lena wasn't afraid of him. She never cried. She never begged. When he tried to emotionally corner her, she responded with calm questions. When he threatened exposure, she smiled faintly. And then came the night he overheard her on the phone. "Everything is ready," she said quietly. "Yes, he's exactly where we need him." That was the moment Ethan realized something was wrong. The confrontation happened at a company gala. Hundreds of investors, media everywhere. The perfect stage. Ethan planned to destroy her publicly. Instead, Lena stepped forward first. She handed documents to the press. Financial trails, signed confessions, audio recordings. The real traitor was exposed. Ethan's uncle. And then Lena turned to Ethan. "You married me for revenge," she said calmly. "I married you for justice." She revealed everything. How she had protected his father's name. How she had waited until the truth would matter. How the marriage gave her legal access to the final proof. The room went silent. Ethan's revenge had been used against him. Charges were filed within days. The uncle was arrested. The company was restored under Ethan's name. But Lena left. No settlement. No apology demanded. Only a letter. "You never trusted me when it mattered. I didn't come back to be loved. I came back to finish what was started." Ethan lost the woman who had loved him because he chose revenge over truth. He married her to punish her. She married him to expose the truth. And in the end, the biggest betrayal wasn't what she did. It was what he assumed. Because sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one playing the longest game. The penthouse was too quiet. No footsteps. No soft hum of late-night work. No Lena. Ethan stood in front of the window, staring at a city that finally respected him again. And yet, he felt smaller than ever. The press had crowned him a victim, a survivor, but he knew the truth. He had been wrong, and worse, he had been cruel. He replayed every memory, the way Lena never defended herself years ago, the way she accepted his coldness without complaint, the way she watched him, not with fear, but with patience. She wasn't weak, she was waiting. Ethan remembered the night his father collapsed. The night Lena begged him to read one email. He never opened it. That email contained everything. Ethan had told himself the marriage was strategy, control, power, closure, but now he saw it clearly. He had used love as a punishment, trust as leverage, marriage as a cage, and Lena never fought back. Because she didn't need to. He read her letter again. "I didn't return to hurt you. I returned because the truth deserved daylight. No blame, no insults, just facts. That hurt more than anger ever could." Ethan realized something terrifying. If she had wanted revenge, he wouldn't be standing free. Ethan tried to call her. Once, twice, 10 times. The line was dead, her social presence erased, her apartment empty. She had planned her exit as carefully as her return. And for the first time in his life, Ethan faced a truth he couldn't outmaneuver. You can rebuild an empire, but you can't rebuild trust once it's buried under pride. Ethan addressed the board weeks later, but his confidence was gone. He spoke slower, listened more, questioned everything, because one assumption had cost him years, and the only woman who truly stood by him. Revenge had blinded him, and Lena had paid the price for his silence. Ethan didn't lose Lena at the altar. He lost her the moment he chose anger over truth. And now, every success felt hollow, because the woman who could have shared it with him had already moved on. Lena arrived in a city where no one cared about her past. No headlines, no whispered scandals, no history chasing her, just opportunity. She rented a small apartment with too much sunlight and not enough furniture. Just a desk and a laptop, and a locked drive containing years of evidence. For the first time in a long while, she breathed. People assumed she left because she was hurt. That wasn't true. Lena left because she was finished. Justice didn't require applause. Proof didn't need validation. And closure didn't come from watching Ethan regret his choices. She had already forgiven him. But forgiveness didn't mean returning. 6 months later, an email arrived. A legal consortium. International. Quiet. Powerful. They had seen her work. Her precision. Her restraint. They didn't want her story. They wanted her mind. Lena became a consultant tracking corporate corruption, exposing hidden financial crimes, protecting people who were silenced by powerful names. She worked in the shadows, exactly where she was strongest. One evening, while reviewing a case, she paused. A familiar name appeared in a document, Ethan Blackwood. Not as a villain, not as a target, but as someone who had refused to bury the truth again. He had rejected a corrupt partnership, one that would have doubled his profits but compromised everything. Lena smiled, not because she wanted him back, but because he had finally learned. Lena opened a blank email, typed his name, then stopped. Some stories don't need sequels. Some lessons only matter when lived alone. She deleted the draft and closed her laptop. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that one of the sharpest minds in the room was walking among them, unrecognized and unbothered. Lena Hart didn't win by destroying Ethan. She won by outgrowing him. She didn't disappear. She evolved, because the biggest game she was playing was never about revenge. It was about becoming untouchable. 10 years passed, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough time for scars to fade into wisdom. Ethan Blackwood was no longer the man the media chased. He led quietly now, choosing integrity over applause, legacy over speed. And Lena Hart, few people knew her name, but the right people did. Ethan stood on the balcony of his office, watching the city wake up. His empire was larger than ever, cleaner, transparent, uncompromising. Every major decision carried one silent question. Would this still matter if no one was watching? He never remarried, not because he was waiting, but because he finally understood what trust actually cost. On his desk sat a folded letter yellowed at the edges. Not Lena's, but the one he never opened. The email his younger self had ignored. He kept it as a reminder. Lena lived between cities, not running, but choosing. She advised governments, dismantled corporate schemes, and protected whistleblowers whose names would never trend. No awards, no interviews, just impact. Her apartment overlooked the sea now. In the evenings, she cooked slowly, read deeply, and slept peacefully, something she once thought she'd never have again. They crossed paths once at Global Ethics Summit. Different panels, different rooms. Ethan saw her across the lobby. Older, calmer, unmistakably herself. Their eyes met. No anger, no regret, just recognition. Lena nodded once. Ethan returned it. No words were exchanged. None were needed. Some love stories don't end in reunion. They end in understanding. Ethan finally learned that love isn't proven by possession, but by protection. Lena learned that strength doesn't need permission, only purpose. They were no longer part of each other's lives, but they were part of each other's becoming. He married her for revenge. She married him for justice. Years later, they lived separately but honestly. And sometimes, that's the happiest ending of all.